Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Allie from A Glass After Work and thanks for joining me. I know usually I do videos on Wednesdays, but work unfortunately got in the way of my fun yesterday, and so I didn't get a chance to record. But happy Thirsty Thursday, I guess. So I'm here today. With that, I wanted to share a rosé wine that I'm drinking, as well as some wines that I am going to actually taste on Sunday night for a live Twitter chat. And so I'll talk about that in a second, but first let's start with the wine. The wine I am drinking tonight is this 2017 Gris from Storybook Mountain Vineyards. And I've talked about Storybook Mountain Vineyards before. I think I've mentioned that they were the first wine club I've joined, and I joined them when I went on my first trip to Napa during the 2009 Wine Bloggers Conference. And it was actually, while I was there tasting, it was the first time I had a red Zinfandel, and I fell in love with the grape. And I've been a Storybook Mountain Vineyards fan since. So a couple years ago in the wine club, they sent a rosé. It was the first time I had their rosé. They weren't doing that from the beginning. And since then, it's been one of my favorites. They call it a Gris, as I'm sure you can imagine, to differentiate themselves from the white Zinfandel, simply because most people think of that as being sweet and kind of thick and sticky, and this rosé, even though it's made from a Zinfandel grape, is much more, I want to say much more Provence style. That's how they describe it, although I'll say that in the past it's been a slightly heavier body than Provence style, but it's a dry wine, and I always really enjoy it. So enough talking about it, let's give it a taste. As you can see, it's got this kind of darker, kind of ruby, orangey, to be honest, almost candy-like color. It kind of looks to me like some of those hard candies, like that type of color. But it's nice and it's clear. Let's sniff. So getting some tart strawberries and some cherries and a little bit of like green tea maybe. And so why don't we take a sip? Cheers. Definitely some tart strawberries, cherries. There isn't any sweetness really, but you know how when you eat like a sweet tart, it makes you just want to pucker? Like it's that kind of tartness that's happening here. A slightly heavier rosé, so it would go well with something like a salmon, which is a slightly heavier fish dish, or like a chicken. Actually, this would probably go really, we had barbecue chicken last night, and it probably would go really well with some grilled barbecue chicken. And so yeah, I think it's fun. I ended up with grabbing a case of it. It's $24 a bottle, so it's a little pricey for a rosé, but I knew it was a good one, and I enjoy it. And they are an organic vineyard, so I know that they're not using any pesticides or insecticides, that they're not using commercial yeast, and that they're using good water conservation practices. And I also really like that about the winery. So yeah. So that's my rosé. And then the other 4 wines that I have are for the Twitter tasting I'm doing on Sunday. And so the Twitter tasting on Sunday is being organized by a wine blogger friend of mine, Frank, who runs Drink What You Like, and I'll make sure to put a link below. He's been running live Twitter chats for a while now. In the past, they've been really Virginia wine chats, and what happens is a number of bloggers will get samples of the wine, and then we all get online at the same time. The winemakers will also join us, and we'll spend an hour basically tasting through the wines and asking the winemakers questions about them. It's always a lot of fun, and the winemakers always really enjoy it. So this month is going to be Frank's second time doing a East Coast wine chat. So he's expanding a little bit beyond just Virginia. So the hashtag this month is going to be hashtag EC wine chat for East Coast. And it's all white wines. And so, yeah. The first wine that I've got is this Albarino. It's a Pearl Albarino from Sanctuary Vineyards, which is a North Carolina winery, actually. And so I've only had one North Carolina wine, and it's a winery my parents live in, not near the Outer Banks, which is where this is from. My parents live more on the western part of the state, and so they have a winery near where they are that they really enjoy. And so they gave me a red wine from there. This is a white wine from the other side of the state, so I'll be interested to see how this is. Having more North Carolinian wine is always fun. And that wine is $24, and I think I mentioned it's 100% Albarino. This wine is from Early Mountain Vineyards. It's a 2017 Five Forks, and it's a blend of Sauvignon Blanc and Petit Manseng. And Early Mountain is kind of from the central area of Virginia. It's along what's called the Monticello Wine Trail. And I was kind of interested in the notes. It talked about how it was kind of tropical fruits and stone fruits and snap peas. So in some ways I wish I hadn't read that before I tasted it, because I know now I'm going to be looking for the snap pea taste, but we'll see on Sunday whether or not it actually tastes like snap peas. So the third wine is actually a cider. It's an apple honey wine from Blue Bee. This is Virginia's first cidery, and they're in Richmond. And I couldn't really find anything online that said how much this costs. So I'm sure that's one of the questions that I will ask when we get online on Sunday, because it's always good to know how much things retail for. And then the last wine is this Muse Vineyard Thalia. And this is a Rhone Valley white wine blend. It's 50% Roussanne, 43% Marsanne, and 7% Viognier. And it is also, I think this is $24. The other two were $25. So, yeah, so they're all in similar price ranges. And yeah, so if you're interested in joining, definitely sign on to Twitter. On Sunday night at 7:30, I'm at Allie, and you can have a link below to my Twitter page. And the hashtag, as I said, is going to be hashtag EC Wine Chat. I'd love to know if you can't make it, but you want me to ask any questions to any of these winemakers. 3 of them are obviously from Virginia, although from different parts of Virginia. And one of them is from North Carolina. I'm happy to ask any questions that you might have, or definitely if you're going to have a chance, you should jump online and join us on Twitter, and feel free to ask questions yourself. And with that, if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you aren't a subscriber already, be sure to subscribe below, and definitely hit that little bell so that you can be notified when I upload videos. As I said, that's normally on Wednesdays, but obviously that's not what happened this week. And I think that that's it. So with that, I wish you a happy Thirsty Thursday, and thanks for joining me. Cheers.